You're listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 113, early covers of Deep Purple songs. And coming to you from the technologically upgraded suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the technologically behind suburbs of Providence, Rhode Island, I'm your co-host, John Calzone Matola.
I do like a nice calzone.
You know what I like? A nice MLT. A nice MLT. With a mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich where the mutton is nice and lean and the tomato ripe.
They're so perky. I love that.
Just...
So did you have a mutton calzone?
No.
That sounds absolutely disgusting.
I had I had small segments of 3 leftover calzones. I think there was a barbecue chicken. It was delicious. Eggplant and I think sausage and broccoli. Really good. Really good. I had some people over. We're vaccinated. Don't worry. And we ordered out and there was leftover, and I am one of those people that does not throw out leftovers. So I throw everything in the freezer. So
don't throw away a leftover. Come on.
No, that was dinner. I was gonna go with like a nice big salad with spinach and everything, and then I'm like,
no, with calzone instead.
Calzones.
There was a place in my hometown that did a calzone that was it was a buffalo chicken eggplant calzone. It was really good, which sounded kind of like a weird combination, but it was good. My roommate turned me on to that. It was a giant, it was a giant one. It was a base. It came in a pizza box. It was an entire pizza, just folded over, not like a little mini one. So we just order it like that, and then you cut off big chunks of it. And he one time he got super drunk, and he was up all night like being sick. And then like the next morning or afternoon, I guess for lunch, he was like, "I'm gonna order buffalo chicken eggplant calzone." I was like, wouldn't be my first choice based on how your last night went. And he had some and then got immediately sick again. Blue cheese isn't usually my go-to after being feeling very sick. And I love
nice
blue cheese, but
cure.
yeah, I'm gonna have to. I go at least 24 hours with no blue cheese after that. It's very easy. So hey, listen up, everybody. If you want to help support the Deep Purple Podcast, I bet at this point you know exactly what to do. Firstly, you could leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That helps new people discover the show, and it inflates our egos, most importantly. You could buy merch at our Etsy store, t-shirts, mugs. Yeah, I think we're out of hoodies, right? I think we're out of hoodies. And then you can also become a patron on Patreon or on PayPal for as little as $1 a month. So if you're driving to work or cleaning the dishes or mowing the lawn, listening to us letting these two fools entertain you, and you're getting value out of that, then why not give us a little value back? Help support the show, help us make some technological upgrades, which we have made since the last episode. I have installed a tiny little device here to record the video. So it's taken the stress off of my main audio computer, and I'm recording the video on this other computer, and John and I tested it out, and so far it's working. So that's why we're technologically upgraded. And then we had a little a little snafu on John's side with what we ordered to upgrade him. So there's a new device arriving Thursday to help him better and more easily record his audio. The end result to you listeners is probably going to be minimal. It might get rid of some of the crackle in the YouTube video, which will be, nice for the 100 people that have ever watched one of our videos. But for the main audio podcast, there shouldn't be a terrible difference, but it will make it a little more seamless for us. So always looking at ways we can upgrade. And speaking of upgrading, what better upgrades to humanity than our executive level patrons? These are upgraded, highly upgraded individuals. At the $20 Shades of Deep Pockets tier, we have Ryan M. At the $15 Highball Shooter tier, Alan Ain't Too Proud to Beg. At the Turn It Up to $11 tier, we have Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Clay Wambacher, and Mikkel Steen. At the $10 Someone Came tier, Steve Seaborg of NameOnAnything.com and AllTheWorldSAstage.net, Jeff Bryce, Gerald Kelly, Victor Campos, and of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention the one and only Richard Fusey. Thank you so much to all of you for your support of this endeavor that we call the Deep Purple Podcast. Now we got a new hot off the presses review. Yeah, this is a brand new podcast review coming to us from the UK of all places. Another UK.
Hi-oh.
This is Professor Zimmer, 5 stars. Subject, fantastic podcast. It's great to hear these guys talk about the music I love so much. It makes me go back and listen to the albums all over again. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Professor Zimmer. Now I'm wondering, we've got Dr. Jill Brees. Is Professor Zimmer a real professor?
You'll have to ask him.
Throw you off when I ask you a question. You're like, huh? What? Professor Zimmer.
Well,
We'll
I
have
mean,
you.
sometimes the snappy comebacks just like jump into my head, and other times I'm like, nah, this I got nothing.
Yeah, it wouldn't really be a comeback. But at any rate,
Or
Professor,
a joke or something like that. Like,
Professor, I hardly know her. Oh, like that.
what? Get out of here with that. That was really Italian, wasn't it?
What, you
Get
or
out of
me?
here with that. No, me.
I'm only half
No,
Italian. So
no, yours was just yours was terrible. That was
mine
like
was terrible.
brick wall comedy with the big with the big hook. No.
Hey. And how about that
Get him off the
airplane
stage.
food?
Boo.
But yeah, Professor, if you want to become a patron and become the first Professor patron, of course, there's probably like 10 patrons that'll be like, I'm a professor, actually. I forgot to tell you. So yeah, we'll have to
We got some honest patrons.
we'll have to see. We do. We have honest, good intentioned, and just well read and well versed patrons. We love them all. So hey, this week we have a little bit of a different episode, and dare I say a shorter one. A couple weeks ago we actually did have a shorter one, so maybe this time it'll work too. I'm going to call it a shorter episode. We're trying to get a few of those shorter ones in there for people. But this came from a little sort of I'd seen this posted somewhere. It was a cover of a Deep Purple song, but the cover was from 1970, and it's a cover of the song Bloodsucker, one of my favorite Mark II songs. So I immediately saw that and I said, well, a cover of Bloodsucker, I'm all in. And then when I saw the cover was from 1970, like the same year that In Rock came out, I said, wow, that's got to be one of the earliest covers around. So then, of course, it turned into kind of a back and forth with people posting different covers that they could find. Ian DeRosier sent one of Into the Fire, and then Jorg sent some. Jorg sent quite a few, actually. And yeah, so I thought it would be fun to kind of listen to some of these early covers and think about this in the time frame of when it was released, and listen to actual contemporaries of Deep Purple doing covers of their songs shortly after they were released. Kind of the same way Deep Purple did, right? Hush, because Hush was released not too long after they released it, I think maybe a year later after that song was released. So it's interesting to hear other bands now trying to jump on their songs.
Yeah, I always thought that was interesting when a band did contemporaries did covers of each other's stuff, even like, within a year or two of each other, because it's like it's almost like you think covers are reserved for like doing a really old song or somebody that's really influential, and usually that it spans years and years, or it's a classic or something like that. Instead, it's like, even like, what was the Zephyr episode, where like, oh, that one was only from like 6 years earlier, and that seemed early, because I mean, you think about it now, 6 years earlier from now, would be like what, 2014, and to think about doing a cover of a song from 2014 is like it's still new, you know.
Well, I guess it's all relative too. When you're 21 doing a cover of a 6-year-old song, you're like, oh, this is old school. This is like a vintage song. But when you're 40,
Yeah,
40 whatever we are, thinking about doing a song from 6 years ago, it's just kind of laughable. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like I feel like when I think of a cover, you go more classic. And I guess over time, that's kind of, I wonder when the cutoff was, or when that became maybe the default, because if you go back into the 60s and 70s, people were covering things that had just come out. Um, and we're definitely,
right.
it's
Yeah.
it's just, it would seem almost awkward or inappropriate to do that now. If a band comes out with a hit song and then like 3 months later you release it as a single, they're like, yeah, we're still listening to the other one. But in
Well, you
this
could be
case,
like, yeah, you know, like here's our version, and then people don't care. They're like, ah, who gives a shit? It was
yeah.
like back then you had everybody like I don't off the top of my head have the like know how far away was it, but like how old was like some of Bob Dylan stuff when Jimi Hendrix was doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think like All Along the Watchtower.
Couldn't have been that, right? Couldn't have been
I
that
think it
old,
was
right?
it was a few years old. Um, let's see. Well,
Or even like
oh,
Deep Purple doing like the Beatles stuff,
yeah, because yeah,
like
they did
their version
Help,
of
which would have
Help.
been what 65, and they did it in 68, so it was only 3 years old at that point. Um,
Yeah, see, so there's a couple right there.
yeah, All Along the Watchtower looks like it came out. BobDylan.com. You let me down. Why didn't I go to Wikipedia? Bob, why did I
Oh,
think
silly me.
BobDylan.com would have any like actual pertinent information? So he says, yeah, the song appeared in 1967, and Hendrix's would have been pretty.
68, 69 at the tops,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
he died in 70, right? So,
I mean, if he
uh,
didn't do it the same year, he did it a year or two later. So I mean, it's like there's, you know, I guess that was just kind of standard back then.
yeah, it was Electric. It was Electric Ladyland, which I would think was 68. So yeah, he did it, months later, or at the most a year later.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it also depends too on like if a song is popularized by another artist. Because if I'm, and I mean, I don't know anything about Bob Dylan, other than everybody doing his covers. But the original All Along the Watchtower, like Bob Dylan's version, I don't think was really as popular. At least now, it doesn't have the kind of notoriety that Hendrix's version does. So it's like sometimes a songwriter. My point is, they write a song and they have original version of it. Sometimes the cover version gets more famous because it's done by somebody that's
Yeah,
you know become more famous or legendary or what have you. I mean,
and
look
Joe
at
Joe Cocker is another one.
um yeah, there you go.
doing the
Yeah.
doing the Beatles songs maybe 2 or 3 years later, most. And
Hmm.
in that case, those were like obviously
And
huge hits that he was doing just a couple years later, and
mhm.
Hendrix was doing it really soon after. But Hendrix also, well, I guess Joe Cocker really did make those songs his own and put a different spin on it. And same thing with
Right.
Hendrix. I mean, if you hear the original Bob Dylan All Along the Watchtower, it's like, oh, Watchtower. It's like very like, and it's just, if I remember correctly, it's like just him and an acoustic guitar. And I remember, like, I've always loved the Hendrix version of that. So I was like, oh, I got to hear the original. And I listened to it and I was like, wow, this kind of stinks. It just doesn't have it doesn't have the character of like the Hendrix version. And I think there's a lot of examples of covers of songs that eclipse the original because they're just more interesting. Of course, Bob Dylan fans would probably crucify me for saying that, but um,
Eh,
I think it depends. If you're doing like a big hit, I guess it's one thing. If you're doing more of a B, or not a B side, but like a deep cut, that's a different thing. And I think All Along the Watchtower, I'm sure, was never released as a single. Um,
right. Or
if I
even
had to
there's
guess.
I'm trying to think of like if we're just kind of hanging around the 60s there, another one was or another kind of popular one was Cream Crossroads, which I
Mhm.
mean is like was uh, a blues standard, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the original was, people knew it, but I mean, if you're like a rock fan, then, that's the one that and that's the one that you go to and everything. It's like, oh, actually, it was written by blah, blah, blah back in, the early 60s or something. It's like, nobody that likes 60s or 70s rock is really going to, know that.
Yeah. It's Crossroads was Robert Johnson. It was from the 30s. So,
Oh,
but
geez. Yeah.
yeah,
See, so I mean, yeah, it's
I
been
thought it
around
was
for
going
a
to be
while. I mean, yeah, never.
Lemon Boy Jim or something like that. They would name like was it Blind Lemon Jefferson or something? Lemon.
Boy, the hell are you talking about?
I don't know, blues guys. Yeah, I'm I'm sour grapes, sour grapes, whatever. I pooped
Sour
out on
Grapes
that one.
McGillicuddy.
Sour grapes, Gillicuddy. I like that.
There was, you know what? That reminds. I can't remember. There was a we'll have to find it later. Maybe like maybe we can find it after we record. But there was like a I remember there was like a kind of a montage of like it reminds me of a Simpsons, and it's like who even knows? I don't even know which season it could have been. It could have been like after the classic seasons, but they were talking about a blues fest or a music fest, and it was one of those things with like featuring such acts as, and they were just like rapid fire
Yeah.
showing them, and they were like these ridiculous names, and it was hilarious. Like I
Sour
was
grapes,
like dying.
McGillicuddy.
But they had ones like that. They're just like, China boy fats, and I don't
That's a good one.
know. Fat Skeezix and the Blow Jug Party Band.
Blow jug.
I'm just, I don't know.
He's riffing, folks. He's riffing.
I'm riffing, and I don't know. I don't really have it tonight.
Well, a lot of these, with one exception, I would say, a lot of these early covers are from bands that most people would not be super familiar with.
Yeah.
So the one that I found, which is the one we'll play first, if I can figure out how to do this screen share on this new setup here. Hopefully this works. I don't think we tried a screen share the other day when we tested this out. So the one that I'm going to start it off with is one it's by a band called Bakery. Kind of funny name for a band. They're from Perth, Australia, and they formed in 1970 and broke up pretty soon thereafter. And this is, how's that screen share look?
Looks like usual.
Nope, it's got my shoes there though.
Are those your shoes, or is that just a stock photo?
It's one thing. Those are my shoes, actually. Those were
okay.
My wife had like some sort of coupon. That picture's almost 20 years old, but it was that's when we lived in New York, and she had some sort of coupon that you could customize your own shoes. Like you'd go and pick the color of every single thing, and they had writing on the back of it. I think they were Nikes. They were really comfortable. And I did it all online, and then they shipped the shoes out like a few weeks later after they were made. It's kind of cool. But anyway, this is, oh, you know what? I think I might have to, since I'm recording the video on this computer. It's another thing I didn't think of. Oh no, I guess it will be this screen. No, I guess we'll see. I'll check out the YouTube video this week. You guys will be our guinea pigs. All right, this is from a band called Bakery from Perth, Australia, 1970. The song, as previously stated, Bloodsucker. Whoa. A little bit of an unusual start to the song. Oh, you know what?
I can't hear it.
Yep, no, you can't. Technical difficulties, folks. I don't know where any of my windows are to stop this. Where is my control? Ah, there it is.
Kind of a weird beginning. I'm like, yeah, I hear nothing.
Yeah, you'll hear something, but here we go. We're gonna start it again, folks. Oh my god, technical difficulties. Wait, that didn't work. Okay, let's edit this out. Here we go. as we get used to the new setup. This is Bakery Bloodsucker.
Sounds like they're going with the Mark I intro.
Yeah, right. Well, could be like a 12-minute song.
Dude, that's a Blackmore, Gillan, Glover, Lord, and Race.
Yeah, they spelled Lord and Pace. They really got Pace wrong. Sounds like the guy's in like a closet. But it's funny, it starts off so unusual with the organ. You're like, this is going to be a whacked out version, but it's pretty straightforward. The production is a little rough.
It almost sounds like really like 60s garage bandy.
Yeah.
You know? It makes me think like if you heard this, you'd be like, oh, this is like the not great version of the song that the original band recorded and Deep Purple recorded it and made it better.
Yeah, this was the demo.
Yeah, this is not a great version of this.
This is the demo with the original singer they kicked out.
Oh no!
Oh no is right.
No, that is. Oh no!
I mean, if you can look past the production, though, I mean, pretty decent, faithful version of it.
Yeah.
It sounds like more. It sounds older than the Deep Purple one. It sounds like it's from the 60s.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like every time he gets to that part, he's like, it's almost like he forgets. Oh no, I gotta try to do that again.
It just really makes you appreciate Gillan. Not like you need much. Not like you need much.
They're just droning on that open note in the background, but they should be going down, 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 down. Wait, don't they on the original? Ritchie-esque bends there. He's giving that a little love.
I mean, the solos aren't awful. I mean, they're definitely not up to Purple standards, but I mean, they do a reasonably good job.
They're pretty good. The overall production is fairly terrible.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a demo.
And the production on the vocals, like I think he nails everything other than the oh no no part. He does a pretty good job of in his own style. The no 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 is probably a little bit of a stretch for his range, and then it sounds like he's in a closet. The Bakery, great name for a band.
Yeah, this bakery is not fresh. This is a day-old bakery.
He's still in the background. I think he's like, he's trying to get out of the closet, like his shoes are falling on him and stuff. Ah! No! That trippy little ending there. Bakery.
I mean, without knowing who the bakery is, I wouldn't order a cake from this bakery.
What
or
about some
anything.
rolls?
Wouldn't order any rolls either. I'm
A
afraid they
bagel?
would be
A
burnt.
bialy.
Bialy. I don't know why I think that's funny.
It is. It's a bakery deep cut. Maybe that's one of their deep cut tracks. Bialy.
Bialys. I remember when one of the first bakeries I worked in, there was a girl I worked with that didn't know what to call them, so she called them biologies.
Biologies.
She's like, do we have any of those biologies? I'm like, you're an idiot.
I like how some like people will see just like the first couple of letters of a word, and then they just like, oh, I'll just freestyle for the rest of the word. I just
run with it.
You know, I see 2 or 3 letters. I got this. I don't need to look at the rest of the letters. I know what this is going to be.
Oh,
It's like my kids did that when they were like learning how to read. They, would try to guess what the word is when they weren't sure, and then they get more confident, and then they can actually read. But it kind of reminds me, but you see some adults that do that. I had a guy the other day. I had to call somebody for like whatever, like customer service for something. I can't even remember. But usually they see my name and they panic, and nobody ever gets it right. And he just went, Nathan Burr. He just kind of like, he just he just stopped. He's like, and he was like,
just gave up.
He was like, is that right? I'm like, yeah, that's right. Let's keep it moving. It doesn't matter how you pronounce my name.
Burr.
Burr. It was like he turned off a robot, like Burr. Like somebody powered him down.
They flipped the switch in the back, and he went Burr.
Exactly. His battery died. I was like, nice try. I was like, man, that like he totally panicked. Like, come on, man, you could at least tried something. I mean, people mispronounce it all the time. You just got the first like sound.
Like, that's like, have you ever seen I mean, of course, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where the delivery guy comes on I think it was Christmas Eve,
yeah.
so he opens the door and he's like, I have a letter for Clark W.
Yeah.
He just kind of trails off.
It's very very realistic.
And for years I never noticed that, and then the time that I caught it, I thought it was the funniest thing. He's like, yeah, I got a letter here for Clark W.
It's very
just
very
kind of
accurate.
like I just started with a G, and then I just gave up. That's what it sounds like they did with your name.
Yep, all the time.
So, but
so
anyway, the bakery's version of Bloodsucker. I feel like that this was a, you know what? It sounded like it was kind of like a garage band, or like maybe like a amateur band. A bunch of kids, whatever, and they just kind of did a recording of a song that they liked by their favorite new band. And
yeah, or they needed an extra song.
I mean,
they needed an extra song for the album. They were one song short, and they just said, oh, we really like that new Deep Purple song. Let's learn it in an afternoon and throw it together.
But I mean, it sounds like I mean, a lot of kind of amateur recordings that we ourselves had done. So it's like not everything is gold.
That's true. All right, next up we got, the band is called Suck, and their album, which is great, right?
I hope it doesn't.
Oh, we'll be the judge of that. And the album is called Time to Suck, and the song is Into the Fire.
right, this sounds a little more psychedelic type version.
Yeah.
And the vocals at least have some production to it.
Or for all the reverb that was not present on Bakery, maybe Suck stole their reverb unit, because this guy's vocals are
they just
super
sucked it away
reverberated.
from them.
Woo.
I mean, the musically they're pretty faithful. You know, they're just trying to copy the originals, basically.
Yep. This was a South African
I'll tell you the
band.
Oh, okay.
They were also one of the
It
earliest.
really makes you appreciate their production of Deep Purple. Like, you
Yep.
know?
This was sent to us by Ian DeRosier, and it was recorded somewhere. They were only around for about 8 months between 1970 and 1971, so this would have been recorded somewhere in then. But they're also, their claim to fame, I guess, is that they were one of the earliest groups to cover a Black Sabbath song. And it's on this same album, well, on a reissue of this album, they do a cover of War Pigs. They also did covers of Grand Funk Railroad, King Crimson, Free, and Coliseum. So. Drums are rough. The playing is probably fine, but they just sound like they're totally lost.
Yeah.
It really makes you appreciate Martin Birch.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
The drums kind of lost it at the end there. It also sounds like there's 2 drum tracks, like one in each ear. Just kind of unusual. But.
Well, I think that was an apt title. It was Time to Suck.
Not feeling Time to Suck?
Yeah.
It's really, it's very hard to look at either of one of those. Just based on the production alone, it's hard to give it a fair shake. But I feel like the singer was pretty, like the arrangement was close to the original. The singer was pretty decent, although way over affected, and the drums were just completely lost in the background.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's like, at least the stuff is like, it's more interesting to listen to than if you were just like, there were later versions like, you know, current day or like 90s or 2000s versions of like, you know, more, you know, well-known bands doing covers of these on their like their greatest hits or their like, you know, their covers album or something. You know what I mean? Because then that would be like, oh, okay, here's like, you know, Anthrax doing a version of, you know, Farmer's Daughter.
It's the same thing.
I mean, and anyone's daughter. I mean, you know, and you know what I mean? It's just like stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay. Whereas like when you're listening to stuff like this, you're at least like, okay, this is a little more interesting, even if it's not good, you know?
Right.
Or great. So.
All right. Well, that was Time to Suck.
What else we got?
Next up, we got
Time to Move On.
Time to Move On. James Last. So James Last is a really well-known German composer and band leader. This was sent to us by Jorg. He had sent me some James Last stuff a while ago. And he was kind of known for doing these records. He put out these records of like whatever was popular at the time, and he'd do these kind of like swinging versions of the songs, whatever was on his mind. And huge guy. He sold estimated 200 million albums worldwide. Put together a lot of these like medleys and compilation albums. So he did a version of Black Knight that we're going to hear right now. So this is James Last doing Black Knight. It's obviously kind of a live presentation here.
I like this non-stop dancing 11. See, now this is cool. This is like a little bit of a different take on it.
Yeah. It really makes you, because Black Knight had already been a single at this point. It really does make you appreciate, obviously, the stolen riff, but the melody line as well.
And you figure, like, with the way that bands are doing their, like, with the orchestra albums, you know, over the past, like, you know, 20 years or whatever it's been, that it, like, this is like what they would be doing if Deep Purple had gone that route, like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, instead of writing their own orchestral compositions, they would take their existing songs and throw like a horn section over them and stuff, although I do enjoy stuff like this a lot.
Yeah, and they did a little bit of that, like Deep Purple did at the you know, when they revived the concerto, they did, you know, Wring That Neck with the whole band section, and
that's cool.
Added that. Yeah, it is cool. Look at Barry Roy Reeves and banging on those congas. Woo! You can definitely get after listening to those first two bands, get a sense of the musicianship on this release, you know. And this is presumably done live. They're really just knocking it out.
This is awesome. This is really good. I also like it when there's like a really like full horn section in a song that's either really heavy or has a really good like vocal melody.
Yep. Ended it with like a Beatles chord at the end. It's kind of interesting. So that was James Last.
That was really good.
Yeah. James Last is no.
Well,
he's James first in my book.
I want to hear that. Yeah, that's not the last time I want to hear that.
That's
both actually really good.
We had competing bad jokes about his last name.
Wah, wah. Oh boy.
But hey, it's going to be the Battle of the Black Knights. Not to be undone, there's an Italian prog group known as the Juniors. Who also did it. Hey, the Juniors. Oh,
hey, get out of here.
They also did a version of Black Knight from 1971. Here are the Juniors.
There's some really weird album covers we're seeing here.
That is a truly bizarre and disturbing album cover, like a skull with a hourglass and a ribbon tied to a disembodied hand.
Hey. He does. He sounds really Italian. I actually like what he's doing with the vocals. It's a little different.
From home, hey, how you doing?
See, as opposed to the other two covers that we heard from the first two bands, this sounds a little more put together.
Yeah, I think probably a more skilled band. It's hard to tell. The recording is so poor, it's hard to tell if it had bad production, if it's just a bad, scratchy record.
Hey, it's too loud.
Just picture like, you know, Tony Soprano and the boys sitting outside Satriani's listening to this.
Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? Everything all right?
It's not an Italian-American prog group. It's an Italian.
That's all I know.
Yeah, exactly. Downtown Providence.
I'm getting into this new music. It's called prog. Prague? Those are from Czechoslovakia? No, you Mama Luke. It's not Prague, Czechoslovakia. Prague, progressive.
I mean, this is interesting. It's kind of fun.
You can tell if they have just like a really like tinny sounding organ that's doubling on the riff. That little loose drum tag there pretty well. Fast fade out here. I've heard faster.
That was actually not bad.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I enjoyed that. It was fun.
So before we,
So it sounds like a little better produced than the other two. I think, you know, it wasn't like great or anything, but you know, it was.
yeah,
I liked it so far. The James Last or whatever his name
James
was.
Last is first in your book.
Was yeah.
We'll hold the phone because before we break up, we have one more Black Knight version to do, and this one
Oy.
is
Oy.
coming to us from. This is from this South African compilation record called Springbok Hit Parade #1. This is the first one they ever released, and they released like 30 something of these compilation albums.
Jeez.
So yeah, so let's check out if I can find it. Here it is.
Another South African, huh?
Another South African. The South Africans went gaga for Deep Purple.
Wow.
So here we go. Black Knight
Yes.
from Springbok Hit Parade #1. Like firing off cannons.
Sounds like they tuned up.
Very, vocals are very quiet in the mix.
Is that a female vocalist?
I thought so at first, but I don't think so. They also did a song on this album called Scooby Dooby Dum Dum Day. I kind of want to hear that one. They did Cracklin' Rosie. And of course the immortal classic Pretty Belinda.
Those are some big sounding drums.
Yeah, a little too big. They should have lent some of that bigness to some of those other ones.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's Time to Suck could have used a little little more beef in their drums.
The Kiss Creatures of the Night album called and they want their drum sound back. Hi-yo! Little Kiss humor for you there. I mean, it's kind of cool in like a fuzzed out kind of way.
Yeah.
You know, where you hear something that's just so like over distorted that you're like, yeah, this is heavy.
It's like I don't even have my headphones up that loud, but I feel like it's hurting my ears anyway, just because of the distortion. Everything's like totally distorted. It sounds like he was playing the drum beat and they just kicked him and the entire drum set down the stairs. Rolling down the stairs. Might have kicked the guitar player down the stairs too. Versions of Black Knight. 3 early versions of Black Knight, if you don't count the songs that Black Knight was stolen from. So if you had to rank those 3 versions of Black Knight, how would you rank them?
I definitely think that the which was the first, James Last,
yeah,
was definitely the first. The Italian prog band second, and this one third. So pretty much the order that we listened to them in.
I would have to
is
agree.
how I enjoyed them. I think that James Last one was like, I mean, I don't know that the production was really great on any of them, or at least the versions that we heard, but I think it was like the kind of the most enjoyable version was the one with the horn section. Although I'm partial to stuff like that as well. You know, I thought it was the kind of the most creative, the most different one. It's kind of like when the heavy metal Pat Boone album came out and he did all of those like big band versions of like metal songs. I mean, everybody was like, ha ha ha, but it's like, I was like, secretly, I was like, this is kind of cool, you know?
Oh yeah, there's some cool stuff on that.
Because I like reinterpreting of songs like that. Like when you take like a heavy song and, kind of turn it around like that and do like a big band or an orchestral or like, even a ballad acoustic version or something, more so than when you take one of those songs and do a metal version of it. I kind of like hearing like a more diverse take on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like the difference between an orchestra doing or a big band doing a song like this versus, some shredder trying to do Paganini or something. And like, look, check it out, I'm doing classical.
I mean, it
works sometimes,
cool,
but it's so overdone.
like, yeah, exactly. Whereas this, I feel, is not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it kind of is if you like, if it was really prevalent. But I mean, I don't feel it's like a whole genre of music. Like, I mean, you have like just whatever shredders from Ingve down, doing that kind of like classical shred, or even I don't know if he's in particular has done any covers. I'm sure he has. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's what I mean. Or even like when we were talking about I think a couple of episodes ago, Megadeth doing These Boots.
Yeah.
That was cool at the time, but I don't know that like a ton of bands were doing that kind of thing yet. So it was cool because nobody had really done it. But then it's just like, oh, let's do like a Partridge Family song, but a death metal version. It's like, all right, like, okay,
I get it.
Whereas I don't know. I just feel like it's when you go inside of a heavier song like that and you're doing like a big band, an orchestra, a jazz version, whatever, it's kind of like you're pulling out the qualities of that song that kind of highlight like, wow, this is actually like good songwriting, or this is kind of like a creative kind of song, more so than if you do a rock version of it, just because like, rock, by definition is kind of like, you really, you dumb it down. I mean, that's what rock and roll was it supposed to be like, simple kind of music from the gut, but now I'm getting off on tangents. So,
Well, before you take us off on another tangent, let's take a little break to thank our core level patrons coming in at the $6.66 tier. Nobody. Please join if you're feeling evil enough. But if you're not evil enough, you can join Kenny Wymore at the $6.65 almost evil tier. At the $5.99 nice price tier, we have Fielding Fowler and Dr. Jill Brees. At the $5 moneylender tier, Greg Sealby, John Convery, Arthur Smith, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Alman, Alexi the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, James North, Mark Hodgetts, Kev Roberts, Will Porter, and, of course, Zwapper, the Electric Alchemist. Then at the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, Peter Gardeau, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Anton Glaving, Andrew Meyer, Duncan Leask, and Stuart McCord. Sipping his whiskey by the fire, but I bet he could not listen to his vinyl copies of all this stuff first. He's going to have to hear it here first. If you are interested in any of this stuff, I'll of course have links in the show notes to all of these covers. We got a couple more before we break up. I keep saying break up. Why am I saying break up? Before we end this episode, we're not breaking up the Deep Purple
before
podcast.
we end our relationship.
And our working relationship.
Nate, you don't pay enough attention to me.
that might be true.
Much.
That's definitely true. Okay, so you can't see him, but he's looking away all in a huff.
I'm looking away. No, you remember what did we do that? We had that joke like, no, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine.
Oh, we used to do that when we were like when we were recording music, we'd do that too. Well, I could we were like disagreeing about like the way something should be EQ'd or something. No, it's fine. It's fine.
No, but we're doing it as a joke, right? Like we're like, oh, this is how it would be if it was like if I was like recording with my girlfriend. No, it's fine, no. Yeah, no, EQ it that way. It's fine. I don't care.
Okay, why would I care if there's any more reverb on that? I don't care. Okay, so next up,
boost the mids. No, whatever. No, it's fine.
Oh, you obviously know better. But John, we're not done with our taste of Italy. There is still more to come, and the next up we have another Italian track. This time by an obscure Italian beat pop band. And the single, the band is called Vocals E, maybe? I don't know. I was really confused about how this was named. But the song is Cuore Brucia, which I might be pronouncing wrong. If I was pronouncing it right, you'd probably get it. What's Italian for Into the Fire once again. Kind of like a little groovy version of it. Probably some of the better production we've heard so far.
Oh, this is Italian.
And it sounds so 60s.
Rolling his R's.
Oh, il cuore brucia.
Yeah, no, this is like authentic Italian. They're not even singing in English. That's a kind of a creative touch.
Breathing his garlicky breath into the microphone.
How could you, Nate? How could you perpetuate that stereotype of us? Breathing his garlicky breath.
I hope my mom doesn't listen. She will not take kindly to that.
Yeah, Neither will Pops.
He's definitely not listening.
Nah, it's a podcast. How does that work? How do you find it in this?
How do I get that on my phone?
Am I podcasting yet? No, never mind. My dad'll still grab my phone and like be perplexed that it's locked.
Hey,
Hey, how do you get me in here?
It's weird how they threw that, like, they threw this little extended part into the into the chorus. It's odd.
Yeah, that's a little different though. And it's like,
It's cool. They
like
put their
they
own
gotta
thing
put
on it.
their
Like,
own-
you know what's missing from the song?
yeah,
Instead of just saying into the fire, I just want to breathe into the microphone like 3 or 4 times.
whoa. All right, that was the quickest fade of the day.
Very abrupt, yeah. So that was another Italian band.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun. Yeah, I think that was one of the more fun ones, and I think honestly the production was really good. It sounded super. I mean, this was a band that formed in the mid '60s, and it sounds like they were still in the mid '60s when they did this. And
Yeah,
it's very easy to think that Deep Purple could have sounded like that. You know, they were still kind of formulating what their sound was going to be like, and they went this really heavy direction on this album. And here are some bands
yeah. Well,
interpreting it still in a real '60s style.
Yeah, and I mean, like we were saying before, it just kind of not only make you appreciate like the musicians and Martin Birch, producing, engineering, but it just shows you how kind of innovative they really were. Um, because there's like so many bands out there, and then it just kind of highlights like this is why Deep Purple themselves like stood out,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But that being said, this version was really, I liked it because it was fun. It was good because it was like it was an authentic version of just an authentic Italian song where they were just like recording it in their native language, and you know what I mean? It was you don't hear that every day.
I feel like this could have
like
been
like a version of a rock song like that.
if you'd heard this version first as an Italian or wherever, and heard this song, and then not known until years later that it was a cover of a Deep Purple song. If you weren't familiar, it's kind of like you might hear Hush X number of times and not even know that, oh, that's actually not even their song. It's a cover of someone else.
Right.
It's got this different style to it, and that's kind of what I think of when I hear something like this. Like, it could very well, they really made it their own and gave it that kind of little bouncy boom 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 boom. It's kind of bouncing along, and kind of made it a more fun song than it is. It's not, I wouldn't describe it as it's a great song. It's just not fun. And maybe it shouldn't be. Oh, that's not for me to decide. The last track I have, before the one that didn't make it to me in time, well, maybe, you know what? If it comes in the next couple days, maybe we can edit it into this episode. Not on YouTube though. Sorry, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm not going to edit the video in because that's just too much. But you can check. Either way, I'll put it on YouTube for folks to check out this song later. It's just didn't arrive in time. It's a band called Psychotic Reaction. This might be the earliest ever cover by a Deep Purple song. This is the one that didn't arrive. It's a cover of Mandrake Root, and it's actually a band called Average. And they, for some reason or another, Psychotic Reaction released a single and just let Average put their cover of Mandrake Root on it as well, which is very odd. So I'd be really interested to hear that. It was released in 1968, so it's I don't know of any cover of a Deep Purple song that's earlier than that. Well, there couldn't be anything earlier than 1968, but maybe something earlier than this point in 1968. So be very interested to hear that when it comes in. And if so, maybe we'll edit it in at the end of this episode. But for now, our final track is another early Deep Purple song. This one is called, well, depending on your version, it's either called Hard Road or Wring That Neck. And this is by a Japanese band called the Golden Cups. And this album is called Recital. It was recorded live at the Shibuya Concert Hall in 1969. They were a Japanese group that formed in 66, and they mostly covered US and UK rock and blues songs. Got a pretty good groove of this one.
Yeah.
It's a little shorter than the live Deep Purple versions would have been around this time.
They're like, yay, organ solo. Pretty good.
He's rocking.
I love how they applaud when the solos start.
Something they keep swelling in some applause. I wonder if they're sweetening it up a little bit. I think the organ player had a leg up on the guitar guy. Jorg sent this from some really obscure site, so I'll have to put the link in the show notes. But it was everything was in Japanese, and but you could just see the word like Hard Road.
Yeah.
It's like a Japanese version of YouTube, I guess. This is one of those songs that always kind of. Let him go. Just watching your face.
He definitely captured early Ritchie
Well,
in a sense.
in a sense, yeah. He definitely seen early Ritchie do it, but didn't quite land it quite the same way.
Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah, but I always have a hard time believing that Deep Purple wrote that song. Not saying that I don't believe it, but it just seems so. It just seems like a standard, like something that would have been around, like something that like when they played it in concerto, it sounded so perfect with like a big band behind it. It just seemed like it should have always been that way to me. That song has always just seemed like it stood out. There's the whole melody of it
Well,
and
I
the
mean,
whole. it just feels like it feels like a bebopping kind of dance song, you know. It just doesn't. It's just
Well, with Ritchie's like history of stealing, who knows?
it's true. I'm gonna come up with some song from the 50s that he lifted it off of.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, either that or I mean, it really just was that good. You know, maybe that was the kind of lightning in a bottle type of thing that,
Oh
that
yeah,
they
I
came
mean
up with at the time.
it's a classic. It's an excellent melody. Uh, There you
Hmm.
have it. Maybe we'll have one more if that record comes here in the next couple days. If not, I'm just gonna send it. I'm gonna have to send this out to the presses to get them printed and sent to the podcast delivery services. Um, but yeah, there's some something a little different. If you have any other early deep covers of Deep Purple songs, you got to let us know because I find it really fascinating to think of to hear some of these songs so that were recorded so soon, so early into Deep Purple's career, and just hearing these interesting takes on them is pretty cool. Even when the sound quality is maybe
Uh,
not 100%, it's still fun to think that they were making a huge impact and getting people to try to copy them so early on.
yeah, I'd like to hear some Mark III and Mark IV
Yes,
covers.
well, we'll have to have a follow up episode. Those will be a little um, obvious. Finding modern day covers or covers from shortly after this is easy, but
Well,
finding
back when we
some,
did our Van Halen episode, you know, those were some examples of rare covers. So we already heard some,
yeah,
which was really cool. But it would be cool to hear some other ones. You know,
yeah, it'd be great to hear
same
something that
vein.
was some like early to mid 70s covers of Mark III or something. Um,
Hmm.
but hey, before we I was gonna say break up again. What is wrong with me? Why do I keep saying break up?
I
I
don't
feel
know
like I've never said that before, but
what's
it's
going
like
on up there.
it's just in my brain tonight. Before we
Hmm.
call it a night, we do have to, of course, do one more thing, and that's thanking our
Okay,
foundation level
fine.
patrons. John, John, John. No. Go ahead. Thank your patrons. They're that important to you.
Nope. Thank your
They,
patrons. Go to your precious patrons. It's fine.
but you know what? The patrons are that important to me, and of course,
Hmm.
who could be more important than the creative minds behind uh, the foundation level? And that, of course, starts with none other than L's Murders, Spacey Noodles, The Loose Fitting Leaky Mausoleum, Michael Vader, Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 Fanatic, Raf Calf, Spike the Rock Cat, JJ Stenard, and of course, Hank the Tank. We wouldn't be complete without Hank. Thank you to all of you wonderful patrons. We appreciate it. And
Who's Hank the Tank again?
I can't remember if we did. Maybe I forgot. I can't remember if it was the last episode or the episode before, but he came in as Hans and didn't get back to me in time
Oh,
about if he wanted a silly made up name. So he made up a silly made up name, and that's Hank the Tank.
okay. There we go. All
So
right. No, I don't think you said that,
so
but
that's
I like it.
yep, that's Hank the Tank. I think he got back to me like right after we finished recording the last episode, so I
Hmm.
couldn't get it out in time. I'd already sent the masters to be reproduced. Could not stop it. Um, but yeah, another like promised. We're actually getting pretty good at promising shorter episodes, and we'll be back at you next week with actually what should be another shorter episode. But then we got a pretty monster episode prepared after that. So for those of you that are saying, "Ah, what the hell? This is supposed to last me X number of commutes or this many minutes of dishwashing," we'll be returning to form with some longer form episodes as well.
Buckle up.
Buckle up for album review to be named later. So, but there's a if you've been paying attention, you probably know or have an idea of some of the albums that could be coming up. So, um, excited to dive into some more classics with you all. So this is also the first episode we've done with this new with half of our new setup. So, if you have any
Hmm.
feedback about how that worked, video or audio, let us know. Because yeah, I don't know, I don't I was kind of fumbling around tonight with all the different screens and everything, so hopefully it came out okay, and we'll just get that much more practice for next week. All right, Johnny boy, I'll talk to you later.
No, it's fine.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.